It was about 6:30 in the morning. It was an old apartment block that we used to be in, and it was like a 100-year-old building. And I was lying in bed. Fran had just gotten up to go and make a cup of coffee, and I was awake. I was certainly wide awake. I wasn't sleeping. And the door of the bedroom was open, and I was lying there, and suddenly a woman comes into the bedroom and through the door. And my first thought was that, not that it's a ghost, my first thought was she was real. And that was actually really terrifying because I thought, what's she doing here? You know, there was only Fran and I in the building. And she was also very, very creepy looking because she had a face that was locked into a scream, like a frozen scream, sort of like quite a terrifying look. And so within a second or two, I'm taking this in. I'm thinking it's a real person. She's got a scream on her face, making no sound, silent. And my heart starts thumping. And then after like 2 or 3 seconds, because all this happens very quickly, after 2 or 3 seconds, I realise that she's a ghost, that she's not real. She's gliding across the floor. She's not actually walking. And also, I guess there was she was like transparent. There was a sort of it didn't feel solid. So I realised I'm looking at a ghost, and that's almost a relief. I mean, it's actually, it's almost a relief that it's not a real person, because they're more dangerous, I'm sure, than ghosts. So I'm watching her, and she goes across the floor, and she slowly rises in the air, and my eyes are totally locked onto this figure, and then she disappears out of the wall on the other side of the bedroom, and the whole thing took maybe 6 or 7 seconds from the doorway across. And I mean, I was like trembling. It was like I felt exactly the same as you do if you just have a near miss in your car or something, and you just feel kind of weak and your heart's pounding. And I called out to Fran, and she came running in. And now Fran had lived in this apartment for like 5 years, prior to this. And I said to Fran, I think I've seen a ghost. And the first thing that she said to me, and this is true, the first thing she said to me was it a woman with a screaming face? And I said, yeah, she had a screaming face. And Fran said that about 3 years earlier, she had woken up in the middle of the night. She was by herself and opened her eyes, and at the foot of the bed was a woman with a screaming face who was standing at the foot of the bed staring at her. And this was the same room. And so, that's the sort of thing that you can't make up. I mean, Fran had never told me about that experience that she'd had. And then I saw the same ghost, 3 years later. So I don't know. I mean, I've always believed in that type of thing, I guess, because I just generally believe in most things. I think that ghosts do exist. It's not the reason why we made The Frighteners, however, and certainly, The Frighteners is supposed to be a lot more entertaining and funny than what that particular ghost was.
I mean, there's got to be some